Hey guys, everything new under the sun. Here is another example straight out of the Bible that the Bible is accurate, the Bible prophecy is coming to pass, and we can see events. We can see the world starting to move towards the end time events. We can see the world itself and the sun starting to switch and move toward the things spoken of in the Bible. Acts 2:20, as one example of a Bible verse, says this. At the bottom there, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and notable day of the Lord. So before the wrath of the Lord comes, the sun will be turned into darkness. And what do we see NASA here saying? NASA is confirming that the sun is dimming. What does this mean related to end time Bible prophecy? Well, I think the sun knows that it's going to be turned into darkness when the Lord returns. And so maybe this is stage setting. Maybe God uses this in some way as part of the biblical passage in Acts 2:20 and many other locations in the Bible where it speaks of the sun dimming and being turned into sackcloth and ashes. The whole light, the whole world going dark basically. As the sun gets successively more blank with each day due to the lack of sunspots, it is also dimming. According to NASA's data, space weather, so far in 2017, 96 days, or 27% of the days observing the sun, have been without sunspots. So there's a picture of the sun. It's pretty much unprecedented. This is like a Maunder minimum for the sun in terms of solar activity. Not a sunspot to be seen there. Across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, the sun's output has dropped nearly 0.1% compared to solar maximum of 2012-2014. This plot shows the TSI since 1978 as observed from 9 previous satellites. So you can see the general trend line is downward. We are right here. So let me... there we go. Can you still see that? Yes. Okay. In the top plot we drew daily. We drew the daily average of measured points in red. One on the left is a red vertical bar showing 3% change in TSI. The black curve is the average TSI over the year. The dashed horizontal lines shows the minimum value. There it is there. Of year average TSI data. Let's get to the good stuff. What do we learn from these plots? First, the TSI does change. It does change. That's why we stopped calling it the solar constant. And science, this is interesting. Science is every day learning that there are no constants. There are no constants. The speed of light is not constant. They know that now. This TSI is not constant. And why is that significant? Well, they base things like dating techniques based off the speed of light and based off nuclear decay of atoms. They base science and the aging of dinosaurs and bones and rock off what they think are constants. And these things, they're finding out, are not constant. And so when you consider how far away planets are, and they say 300 light years, well, that's based on a constant of speed of light. What if the speed of light was a lot faster in the past? That means they would be a lot closer. What if the speed of light was a lot slower in the past? That means they'd potentially be a lot farther. And so when you look at constants and the way science uses them in a very short-term, uninformed manner. And that's a true statement. They were uninformed. Now they know the speed of light changes. This changes everything about what science has said about the past, about the dating techniques being used, about all these other things, because the decay of atoms, the half-lives, etc., has to be all shifted based on the fact that these things are changing. They're not constant anymore. And so that changes everything in the scientific world. And that means that the Bible is accurate and always was accurate, just that science is slowly coming around to it. The data shows us that the sun is not getting brighter with time. The brightness does follow the sunset cycle, but the level of solar activity has been decreasing for the last 35 years. The value of at minimum may be decreasing as well, although that is far more difficult to prove. Perhaps the upcoming solar minimum of 2020 will help answer that question. Is it significant that the upcoming solar minimum is 2020? I believe it is, because I believe the 7-year tribulation starts in 2021 or about there, plus or minus a year or two. We'll see. But interesting that it's coinciding with what is potentially the return of the Lord, or very close to it there. And I think that's all orchestrated by God. I think God has the timing all figured out. The rise and fall of the sun's luminosity is a natural part of the solar cycle. A change of 0.1% may not sound like much, but the sun deposits a lot of energy on Earth, approximately 1,361 watts per square meter. Summed over the globe, a 0.1% variation in this quantity exceeds all of our planet's energy sources combined. In 2013 report issued by the National Research Council spells out some ways this cyclic change in TSI can affect the chemistry of Earth's upper atmosphere and possibly alter regional weather patterns, especially in the Pacific. Oh, so climate change, is this going to cause climate change? So that means climate change is not man-made, because I think anybody would agree that the sun has far greater effect on the planet than humans have at this point in time. And so yes, science is basically saying that climate change is going to come from the sun. Oh, okay. And the sun has a lot greater effect on the Earth than all of our fossil fuel burning at this point in time. You cannot outpower the sun. The sun currently is the ultimate power source in the universe. And so this climate change stuff, the thinking, the thought that we can control this is inaccurate. We cannot control this. God controls it. If we return to God in prayer, He will heal our lands. If we want to really heal the earth, heal the land, heal the food and the vegetables and the animals and the trees, we should return to God. So I will leave there for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Solar minimum. Does this line up to an Acts 2 event where the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and notable day of the Lord? I think this is the precursor of it, but I also think what turns them into darkness, not only by the dimming of the sun itself, but also from volcanoes going off and ash likely occurring. So stay tuned for that. We're getting close to the return of the Lord. It's very exciting time we're living in, and you guys need to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, because He's coming back soon.